Welcome to another segment of the Business of Aesthetics podcast. I'm Michael Walker, your host for this episode. Before we get started, I want to thank all of our incredible listeners from the United States, Canada, and around the globe. We couldn't do this without your continuous support. A special thank you also goes out to our sponsor for this episode, Echo Marketing. With 20 years of experience, Echo Marketing is a leader in digital marketing services for aesthetic practices. As part of this podcast, they are offering our listeners a complimentary digital marketing consultation, which will include a tailor-made 12-month digital strategy for your practice. You'll be able to head over to Business of Aesthetics, all one word, businessofesthetics.org/MSM to book your consultation. I'll have more on that and the opportunity a little later in the podcast. So, without further delay, let's dive into our theme for the day. I love the title, Speed to Lead, how Podium is revolutionizing aesthetic conversions with AI and tech with Shannon Blake. Shannon, it is great to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Michael. And I love that this is a global audience. That makes it even more fun.
Excellent. Yes, it is. So let me just share a little of your background with our listeners, Shannon. Shannon is the Director of Partnerships, Aesthetics at Podium. Podium is a leading communication and payment platform that helps businesses enhance customer engagement, streamline operations, and drive revenue growth through AI and automation. In today's highly competitive aesthetics market, speed is everything. Responding to leads quickly and effectively can mean the difference between securing a new patient or losing them to a competitor. Podium's technology enables aesthetic practices to improve response times, automate follow-ups, and enhance patient communication, ultimately increasing conversions and revenue. Shannon works closely with aesthetic practices to implement AI-driven tools, text-based communication, automation strategies that simplify lead management and improve operational efficiency. By prioritizing speed to lead, Podium empowers clinics to stay ahead in a saturated market while creating a seamless and personalized patient experience. In today's episode, we'll explore why lead response time is more crucial than ever, how AI and automation are transforming patient interactions, and what aesthetic practices can do today to convert more inquiries into loyal patients. Shannon, as I said, it's great to have you here, and let's just start with the basics. So, why is speed to lead such a game changer for aesthetic practices, and how does Podium help clinics improve their response time and conversions?
Such a great question, Michael. And yes, speed to lead is a term that anyone who's in the industry will be familiar with, but I will say it's more important than ever now, considering, and I'm going to speak to the US and Canada specifically. I know you've got a global audience, but we're experiencing for the first time ever a step back in revenue year over year. I believe the industry is down about 17%, which is concerning, but also a wake-up call to say you have to win in speed to lead now. The industry has grown so quickly. It's become a bit oversaturated, and the folks who are going to think strategically about what tech they can incorporate into their practice are going to end up winning. So speaking specifically about what Podium can do to help with speed to lead is, I think, the first piece of advice and guidance that I'll share with folks that Podium offers is, number one, you need to have all of your communication and all of your leads funneling into a single place. Because right now, if it resonates with you that you've got maybe a contact us form on your website that sends leads into an email inbox somewhere, and then you've got your Google ads or your Facebook ad leads going somewhere else, and maybe you have a web chat, like a website widget on your website where those leads are going somewhere else, you can't get back to leads fast enough if you do not consolidate them into one place. So that would be my first advice is, do you have a CRM that can do that for you, regardless of where the lead is coming from? And then this next thing I would say that's really fun that some tech companies are starting to build, including Podium, is having an AI patient coordinator. Because here's the reality. We know that there's staffing issues too happening, like finding good people to be as responsive as you need them to be with every lead is becoming more and more challenging. And so looking into incorporating an AI patient coordinator into your practice will allow you to not only get all of your leads organized, but then have somebody get back to every single lead within 2 minutes, which is going to win. If you think about like the drop off that happens, there's some really cool data out there about how much improved conversion you get if you reply within 5 minutes. That's the new expectation. So if you think you're doing really good with 1 hour, I'm sorry to tell you, it's actually not good enough anymore. It's got to be minutes, because we all live in a world of instant gratification. We want things now. If something's on our mind, we want to hear back from the company. We want our questions answered, and we want to book appointments. So I would say, just to summarize it, it's winning in speed to lead is consolidating all your leads and then leveraging messaging like text and AI to get back to all those leads faster than your competition.
Wow. Consolidating and leveraging. You pulled that down to 2 words, all of that. Very well done.
Thank you.
I think this idea, I know with echo marketing, that's the big thing, is they recognize, I think it's like Google transforms the algorithm over 6,000 times last year. Like, it's incredible. Everything moves just constantly. And unless you're an expert in a particular field, like you are in your aesthetic practice, I think the one thing that you've just proven is that this is not a time to be a generalist. You need to be really good at what you're really good at and know that, focus it in, and then bring in the supporting talent that will help elevate that. And to your point, can turn that revenue decline down around to a positive. And I think you're hitting the nail right on the fact. I mean, a decline is not necessarily it's not a good thing, but it's a great thing if it's seen as a wake-up call to how you're approaching your business from the front of the house, online, right through to the follow-up with a patient after they've left. And
Yeah, it's going to force folks to become very efficient businesses now. There's no more, I mean, long are the days when, as long as you were a practice that was open, the leads would come flowing in and the revenue would come flowing in. So now it's going to take some more strategic thinking, unfortunately. But there's exciting tools out in the market to help folks that want to step up to the challenge.
And that's where we're going to go next, because AI is the topic, isn't it? It's the I have heard so many incredibly interesting ways it's being used in medical practices, whether it be in veterinary medicine, aesthetics, dental. It's phenomenal. It's just so interesting, and every one of them have an interrelationship. But the different communities haven't necessarily talked yet. But AI and automation are transforming customer interaction for sure. How is Podium leveraging AI to help clinics engage with leads more effectively?
Yeah, so I mentioned before, AI patient coordinators are absolutely something everyone should be looking into. Not only are they responding to leads quickly, but there's really cool features where if a lead goes cold and maybe the prospect hasn't replied back to the lead in the next 24, 48 hours, whatever timeline you want to set as a practice, AI can step in and re-engage with that lead automatically. So if you are shopping for an AI patient coordinator, ask about things like that. Like, does it have the capability to follow up with leads that have gone cold for me without me having to do anything? And then I would say, even this is a bit outside of AI, but in regard to automations, if your CRM doesn't offer you some type of drip campaign where when you move a lead into a nurture status, text messages can start to automate, right? Over the next, let's say you say, hey, this lead is in nurture, and right now wasn't a good time. Maybe it wasn't a good time for, funds. Maybe it was not a good time for like recovery time needed, whatever it might be. You move that into nurture, and automatically you could say, send these 6 text messages out over the next 4 months, spread out this often, and I want text 1 to say this, text 2 to say this, text 3 to say this, and so on. And then you can just sit back and know that although that lead didn't convert right now, you've got something in place where you don't need to do anything, and it will just engage with that lead and keep trying to get that lead to communicate back with you. And once they respond, that drip campaign automatically cancels. So that's one thing that I would say may be available in CRMs, but folks haven't taken the time to actually set it up strategically. Such a critical thing to take advantage of right now, with knowing that not every lead, although you get back to them quick, maybe they're not going to convert right away, right? Maybe your conversion rate is 50%. What are you doing with the other 50% to make sure that those don't slip through the cracks long term?
Yeah, you're using a lot of language that a lot of our listeners are going to be familiar with, and the different categories of nurture and stuff. And I say, what's really interesting is that you probably, as a listener, you're probably not an expert in marketing. And I know that Podium, that's one of their focus is creating that seamless, personalized patient experience. That's really important. And that's why this is one of those areas where, there's things it's important to understand at some level, but to actually execute. And the other thing I've noticed, Ken, is they think they've got it figured out and execute and kind of got that done when check that box off. And of course, that's not the way this digital world works. It requires a hands-on process. AI watching AI is what I've heard. And how are we, like you said, how do we know that nurture campaign is stopped and not carrying on and things like that? It's fascinating how complex it's getting. But beyond speed, I mean, that's a huge deal. And as you say, you just can't, you can't sit a lead that will only stay hot for a very short period of time. What are other key factors that impact lead conversion, and how can technology optimize the patient journey?
Yeah, so one thing that I want to highlight is how AI can engage with missed phone calls, because we all have them, whether it's you've got a busy front desk office manager that's checking people out so they maybe can't answer the phone, or we all know we close around 5 or 6 in the evening, right? But your strike zone clients are of the age where they may be working 9 to 5s, or they're a full-time mom. And the only time they get to themselves is after you're closed and they're on your website and they have a question about your treatment. They want to give you a call. You're not going to answer because you're closed. Or even if they do call you during business hours, you can't answer every single phone call. So something that's really cool about Podium phones, and if it's not Podium phones for you, like do your research and find a phone system that does this, but this is going to help you tremendously with conversion on your missed phone calls. So there are phone systems now where if there is a missed call, it automatically texts the individual who just called and let them know whatever the message is that you want it to say. Maybe you're like, I'm so sorry we missed your call. We're currently closed. We'll text you back in the morning, but feel free to respond to this text message with any questions that you might have. And then if you've got AI and you've got your AI patient coordinator, we call her Avery at Podium, she can hop right in after hours and respond right then when that service or treatment is on that lead's mind, which is really powerful. And I think the last number I was looking at is like 40% of website traffic is coming in after you're closed, like after a 6 p.m. close time, which is insane. 40%, that's huge. So you have to think like, what are you doing to make it feasible for you to engage with those leads that are coming through to your website after hours? Because getting back to them the next day isn't good enough anymore. So it's again, layering on, if you've got a missed call, it turns to text. Now you've got an AI patient coordinator that will answer questions and even book appointments for you while you're sleeping or spending time with your family. So that is one thing that I want to highlight. I think hasn't been a real good solution for missed calls and the lost revenue there and the conversion on the missed calls.
Yeah, it's funny. I had that just the other day. So I had a call came in. Like I made a call. It was when after hours, and it was actually a college of veterinarians, and the voice message said, we're closed. But then a message came up and just said, that we're closed, but we'd like to answer your question. We're going to, and it actually said, we're going to set that you will get a text will come to you shortly. And if you could give us an idea what you're looking for, we can direct you. So I thought, okay. And sure enough, I got a text and it gave me, and I clicked on. Now I'm on my phone looking at, and it had like a pre-populated Q&A. And I thought, interesting. Now I was looking for somebody specific, so I really wasn't. But in this case, if I was, I was wondering, when you think of that 40%, that's a new number to me, Shannon. But you think of that number, is there motivation to do due diligence or ask questions? Do they know it's closed and they just want to get into to be able to go and click through to find something? Because how much too of that 40, that traffic is all coming off of phones, not off of computers. And so what you're looking for and how you look for it is different. And I'm wondering if we've really adapted to how people are, what they're looking for after hours specifically, and how they're doing it. And I love that.
Yeah, for sure. And many of you probably have. If you don't, you should absolutely go and get you one today, but have like a web chat text widget on your website. So when people are looking at treatments on your website and it's after hours, they can engage with you via text right from your website. Of course, again, you shouldn't be working after hours because I like to promote work-life balance, but having your AI patient coordinator responding to those website leads when they're coming in through text is also a really good strategy. And then, Michael, I wanted to also add a couple additional strategies to be thinking about that I don't think practices are good about today when it comes to conversion is the individuals who are working that front desk. When somebody goes to check out, there's generally maybe they're scheduling the next appointment or even checking in, or even like, let's even just talk about a lead in general and how the front desk is managing those leads. When you've got somebody who's asking questions about a particular service, going into the CRM, Podium has this capability, others may as well, but giving that contact, that lead, that patient personas, tags, we call them at Podium, of what services or treatments they've shown an interest in, whether it was an interest they brought up or one that came up in the consult. So this is like a little bit of a front desk working also with the physician or the NP that's performing the treatment, but it's being hyper aware of everything that's discussed, anything that may be of interest for this client, and tagging them with those different personas or tags so that when you go to do your text marketing, you're being strategic about who you're sending the promotion or the announcement to, because otherwise you're just throwing everything at the wall and hoping it's relevant for somebody. And that's not going to sit well with your subscriber base for your text marketing if they're getting stuff that they've never even shown an interest in. So just being very strategic about giving every single lead or client tags, and you can do indefinite amounts, right? Not everyone's going to just have one that you have to pick from. You can give them 9 different tags based on maybe the membership level that they are. Maybe they're a VIP member of yours, and tagging them appropriately. So you can give them early access to specials or whatever it might be. But just in summary, it's being very in tune with every client, every interest they have, and tagging them appropriately for future strategic text marketing.
So we were talking on another chat we're having on a podcast. We're talking about a client, patient or client concierge, like from a lobby concierge. And I'm thinking, so if I'm that concierge and it's a physical person as opposed to we're talking about a AI, but if I'm having that conversation with somebody as that physical front reference point, and I have there's going to be an ethics issue in here, but if what we're talking about is being recorded and AI is tracking it, it's going to categorize and pull all the things that are important to them into those very tags you're talking about, and basically create a profile for me that we can then build out into however we want to place that in the funnels to go after and reinforce their particular interests without mishitting in things that they aren't interested in. But I know that you just can't go recording people without their knowledge. But I'm just curious, how do you see that playing out? I mean, this is kind of going off script a bit here, but
no, I love it. I'm glad you brought it up, actually, and I'm smiling so big because that is coming for Podium. That is something that we're building right now. One thing that I do want to highlight that we do already have today that is totally in the realm of conversion, and then I'll come back to that, is AI call summaries. So if you're using Podium, for example, and you're in a state where it's illegal to record a call without their permission, we've already got that set up where it's notifying them that the call is being recorded up front. Just a message comes on before it rings. So we're covered there. But with Podium phones, every call's recorded, every call's transcribed, and then within seconds, AI comes in and summarizes that call right there. And why I bring that up is not only is that cool, but for owners, you can easily go into Podium and look at all the phone calls that happened for the day. What were the call summaries? And do you feel like based on the summary, was that an effective call? Did they bring up the event that you guys have coming up in 2 weeks that you've asked them to bring up? Did they give the right information about the treatment or procedure? Was it a robust conversation? Did they give enough detail? So just that alone, you can use that as like a training mechanism with your team to see how effective those calls are. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out is having better insight into, or is your front desk doing a good job converting phone calls? into consults or patients as well. And then, Michael, what you said, I was going to bring this up later because I know we were going to talk about like the future of AI, but that's absolutely something that we are building right now is if even in text conversations, if it pulls out that, oh, you guys are chatting about this service or treatment, auto tag. And then it will just tag that contact automatically so a human doesn't have to do that. Or if it was part of a phone conversation, auto tag. And I think where we're going to start is actually having a pop up say, I noticed that you chatted about this treatment. Would you like to tag them with the treatment in case for whatever reason it got it wrong or they didn't want to tag it for whatever reason? But it will give them an option, but it will notify somebody to say, hey, we noticed you talked about this. Would you like to add it? So really cool stuff coming with AI where it's going to take a lot of the human work out of it because it is a lot of work right now. But I would say you can't afford not to be doing that, even if it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of work is maybe a misterm. Like to me, this is like an annuity. You got to make an investment now to get the return. But if you don't, it's like we used to. I remember we first built websites. We'd build these custom websites that would be totally useless in 6 months or a year. And now, and because they weren't designed with the future in mind. They were designed with the circumstances in front of us. AI forces us to have to look at what the future is. And I think unless you have a platform that can actually engage you in that, you're going to find yourself noticing dinosaurs around that you didn't notice before. And I think this whole idea, my medical doctor actually, she said, I was in for a physical and said, there's, I'm going to record this if it's okay with you. I'm using AI. I said, yeah, sure. So she recorded. I said, how's this working for you? She says, this is like, she's got 2 young kids at home, 9 and 7. And she said, this is the best thing ever. I actually go home at night now and spend time with my kids. I'm not writing up my reports. And I said, really? I said, so but does it give you like a summary? I'm really curious about this stuff, as you can tell. I said, so does it give you a summary that you can it gives you all the things you need to follow up on? Does it give you any kind of thoughts on what might be wrong with me? She says, well, it could, but that's not what we use it for, that we're actually supposed to figure that out ourselves. I said, well, one day, but I think a dentist indicated that because he writes these emails he sends out, they don't meet the audience where they're at. They're too technical, and there's always these follow-up conversations. Frustrating. AI has been writing his emails to write to the target audience that they're doing, and he said in the first 2 weeks of doing that, he saved 7 billable hours.
Woo! Love that.
And so there's I think that the key with AI is not to be moved by its enormity, but be excited about its opportunity and break that opportunity down to bite sizes like you're doing here, Shannon. What Podium does is it gives you, and actually in equine marketing does the same thing, but this idea of breaking things down to practical, actionable steps that have integratable qualities that can move forward with wherever AI takes you without losing integrity and the fundamentals of what you do for a living.
Right. Yeah. I think there's a lot of folks. We actually just ran a survey to hundreds of aesthetic practices, and 90% agreed that AI is going to be critical to incorporate in your practice to be competitive, but yet only 40% were actively using AI in their practice. And we also surveyed them on what the biggest barrier was for those that weren't using AI today. And it was overwhelmingly the loss of human touch. And so I think it's really important to be looking through the lens of, okay, where could I use AI that's not going to impact the patient experience? And the obvious answer is answering general Q&A that's coming in through text. They don't need a human. They won't know that it's not a human because with OpenAI, they've made it so conversational that literally they know they're none the wiser, right? They're just getting answers to their questions because your AI patient coordinators trained on the back end. But what that allows your front desk folks to do is be so present with a patient that's in office to really nail the check-in and check-out experience so that when those times are there, when somebody's in your practice, you're not worrying about missing phone calls or any other messaging people back on their questions. You are present and you are wowing that patient while they're in your practice. So by no means are we suggesting we, let go of human touch, but that all happens when people are live in your practice. All the messaging stuff you should absolutely be leveraging AI for.
Yeah, wow, that's it. And the interesting thing is AI is not new. I remember we built out arguably spreadsheets in Excel to actually track data that we applied to a CRM in a hotel, that when somebody's checking in, we would get comments and things that had happened and connected with them up on the screen while we're doing that. And we'd be able to talk to them. So how's Bob doing? Your son hit his birthday last month, right? You guys remembered that, but we used a math-based, we didn't have the computer engineering that is now available to us, but it worked. Like it's just about really it's about bringing protecting the human touch, but bringing more information to play that unexpectedly delights the customer.
Yep.
How could you lose? It's like that saying, have you ever been encouraged too much? No. Like we could, if you don't do it with authenticity and then that's a different, to your point, you've already said that. Podium works on making sure it's human relatable, and it's not a machine talking to me. It's a person.
No. Yeah. And AI patient coordinators. So if you are searching for one advice I would give you is understand what LLM, it's learning language model, it's built off of. This tech company, they have to have built it off one, and you want to make sure it's a reputable one. OpenAI is probably the most well-known. ChatGPT is probably something everyone has heard of. That is OpenAI. But we've also got DeepSeek, the one that was created out of China that's getting a lot of attention. You've got Facebook has their own, Google has their own. So just asking the question on which model it's based off of, because if it's off a reputable one, they literally are conversational. They're human-like, and folks don't know that they're not AI. So don't worry about it seeming like a robot and not getting it right, because if you pick the right AI patient coordinator, there's a lot of training. I would say probably 3 to 4 hours of training on the back end up front, because you want your AI patient coordinator to know what's your new member special, what's your cancellation fee, how much notice do you need on cancellations, what membership levels do you offer, what are the benefits of each membership. It knows your treatments, it knows how you want to speak about your treatments, it knows the pricing. So she's going to be better than your front desk when it comes to describing and sharing the benefits of each treatment. She's going to be the fastest. So don't worry, take my word for it. They're really good now. It literally was, once OpenAI came out and all the other companies quickly followed, it changed the game on what AI can do from a messaging perspective, is what I'm speaking about specifically.
Absolutely. It's more we've all seen things evolve from robotized voices to something now that you can't tell. It's so I kind of want to, if you're listening to this, I can't imagine you're not excited about AI right now, and which is a good thing. And hopefully, Shannon's breaking this down in a way that it's not a big, scary, overwhelming thing. That it's bite size. Always think, it's not about trying to. Men, we tend to do everything forever, but just this next season, what's one thing you could do? What's one great next step you could do to start moving towards this when you get off of this podcast? What's reaching out to Shannon, connecting, whatever that looks like, but just what's that one right next step that you could start moving forward? Because that's the thing, something new, we always tend to get a little overwhelmed because it's too big and change is too overwhelming, but change is a good thing. It's the transition that's the hard work. Losing 50 pounds and having a six-pack is abs is an awesome change I wouldn't mind having. I'm not so keen on the transition of having to give up chocolate chunk ice cream and the amount of sit-ups I have to do. But the reality is that we actually do. So just breaking this down, but I want to kind of, because we kept watching our time, and I want to, let's just talk about a couple of the common mistakes that aesthetic practice make with managing inbound. What have you seen? And then obviously we've been already talking about, but kind of reinforce how Podium's tools could help solve them.
Yeah, it's really just summarizing some of the things that I've already shared. So not following up fast enough, Not good enough if it's not within 5 minutes. So I want you to take that away. So and then consolidating all your leads. So having a platform where every single lead, whether it's a paid ad or would lead off your website or a phone call or a text, is going into a single place. That will make you so much more efficient. Your front desk will love you, and really leveraging text heavy as well. And by the way, with Podium, it also pulls in all your social media messages. So long are the days that your front desk has to log into Instagram, log into Facebook, look at your DMs. It's one less system, a couple less systems you have to log into, because it's all consolidated in one place. And then I would say another common mistake is it's one and done. If they don't convert right then, it slips through the cracks, and you don't even acknowledge that that's potentially future revenue for your practice, and not thinking strategically about, okay, it's not now, but let's move them into a nurture state. Let's put them in a drip campaign, and let's set up those templates so those texts go out automatically. Not having those systems and processes in place is going to bite you in the ass, pardon my language. But it really is a common mistake, is people are just not taking the time to set those up. They want the revenue now, and they don't think about the revenue later if that doesn't convert right away.
Excellent. Yeah, completely see that. So follow up, consolidate, target, and then apply. There's just so many, and I think that the big thing is having. You don't need to be an expert in all the applications and functions of this, but you have to have a vision for what it is you're trying. I always say, in a year, what do you want? If here's your practice today, what do you want your story to be in a year from now, as it relates in this particular conversation around AI? And then bringing in the partners that are going to help facilitate that vision you have and move you forward, so that the 7% decline in the industry is irrelevant, because you're doing 35% more than and taking market share.
Exactly. And one other thing that I will mention once again, because it's so critical, is practices have missed calls and they don't do anything about it. They hope people will leave a voicemail and they get back to them, but a lot of people are not doing that. So having a phone system in place that will capture those missed calls and turn them into open active text conversations that then AI can jump in and take on and get booked for you. Everything, I haven't said this, but everything I'm talking about, Podium sells for. So I'll just keep it simple that way, that everything I'm recommending is we have a solution for. So
awesome. Well, kind of, we touched on it a bit, but just kind of as a wrap up, looking ahead and where we touched a bit on where AI is going. Any other thoughts on that and what you see it? I'm just waiting for my, since we have these incredible printers and stuff, I'm waiting for the printer to be able to actually reproduce my caramel macchiato. I think that should be the next generation.
Oh, that will come sooner than you think, Michael. There's a lot of really cool things happening with AI right now. In fact, I just went to a conference with one of the main EMRs in the space, and they held a whole session on AI, and they had a really cool roadmap in place. One thing that they have out in beta right now is AI scribing. If you haven't heard about this already, think about like the scribing process in any consult and the work that goes into manually inputting notes, charting, all of that. There's some really cool stuff coming, if not already out, for some of these EMRs around that, where it's just audio. It's listening, and then it places everything in the appropriate part of the form in the EMR. So and the list goes on and on. I would call your EMR or any tech stack that you have and ask them what they're doing about AI, because it's on everyone's mind. For Podium specifically, our big focus next is AI voice. We want you to take Avery, who's our AI patient coordinator, to the phones, whether she's out calling, reminding people of appointments, or outbound calling to let people know about an event you have coming up because you're launching a new device, or just calling to create excitement around a new service or treatment that you're offering. And her being very conversational. It's not just a voice recording and then it hangs up. She'll ask a question and the person can respond and they can have a full-on conversation. So outbound AI patient coordinator efforts. And then next up for us will be inbound. We want Avery, our AI patient coordinator, to be able to answer phone calls. So if people prefer to talk on the phone and maybe they're calling you after hours or you're too busy and can't answer, she'll be able to have a full-fledged conversation with the individual that's calling into your practice.
I love it. Now that's one of those things with that saying, the proof's in the pudding. Like, until I hear it and see it, then there always has to be somebody innovating at the front edge of this. But I just, appreciate a statistic. Now, if you have in your front desk, in your front office, if you have Gen Zs working there, which are 18 to 26, or millennials who are 28 to 43, well, 60% of the Gen Z dread accepting a phone call. And 81% of the millennials are anxious about making or accepting a call. Now, those facts just simply tell me that if that demographic is not really a great place for them to be at the front of the house with phones, but AI is. And it simply eliminates something that there's a huge issue that it would take hours to train that out of people, or even, not even train them, just that they have a passion for it. So, I mean, that's a great example where AI is just simply replacing trends and current day phobias, if you will, that it never has. So,
Yep.
pretty cool stuff going on. Our time is coming to an end, and I thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us today and sharing your expertise on speed to lead, how Podium is revolutionizing aesthetic conversions with AI and tech. What's the best way that people can reach you?
Yeah, I'm going to be bold here, and I'm actually going to give out my cell phone number. So feel free to text me if you're interested in learning more, or I always just love connecting with people that are professionals in the industry that have thoughts, ideas. But my cell phone number, if y'all want to whip out your phones, is 801-979-8096. So for those of you that like calls or text, that's my cell. Or you can reach me at shannon.blake@podium.com.
Perfect, Shannon. Nice and easy to remember. And I can tell you that's her actual number because I called it just a little while ago. So I know that's it. Well, listen, your insights into how clinics can enhance patient outcomes while increasing profitability were incredibly valuable, and we really appreciate your time, Shannon. I also want to take a moment to thank our amazing listeners and the privilege of your time. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we couldn't do what we do without your support. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your colleagues and friends on social media and help us spread knowledge within the aesthetics community. Also, don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. We love reviews just like you should love reviews. Your feedback helps other doctors and practice owners discover our podcast and gain valuable insights to grow their business just like you are today. And before we go, a special thank you again to Equa Marketing, our sponsor for this episode. Mentioned with nearly 20 years of experience in digital marketing for aesthetics practices, Equa is offering our listeners a complimentary digital marketing consultation, including a custom 12-month strategy tailored to your practice. Now, specifically, I've seen this, and it's such a, if you're already a marketing expert and you're an AI expert and you're a digital platform expert, then what Shannon and I have been talking about, you probably already know it all. And that's awesome. But if you don't, and you're looking to grow your business and you're looking to own a strong place in the market and owning your market share, then whether it be Podium or Equa Marketing, powerful tools to get you there. And if you'd like to go ahead to go to businessofesthetics.org/MSM, you can book that consultation with them. I can tell you that two questions I always ask myself. First one is, what's at risk to reach out? Well, just your time. There's no cost to it, as I've said, and I can assure you of that. The second question is, what's at risk not to? Well, that depends on how much you're comfortable with this and how much you want to grow and evolve your business. And so that applies to both myself and Equa Marketing, as well as Shannon and Podium. And just thank you again, Shannon, for your time. And until next time, keep striving for excellence, elevating patient care, and making a lasting impact in your industry. On behalf of Shannon and Podium, wishing all of you an amazing week ahead.
Thanks, Sean.